So remember how I talked about my complaint yesterday of umeme? So I did a TikTok video yesterday, and a number of people reached out. So one of them gave me the number of the network manager. So there is something that we need to understand. Muyombia Mark, Mugalasi Joshua Mix Farm to see me Eddie Nick Wabuyi Travel Life Vlog. Mwasuze Mutia. I know many of you guys are going to actually go and build if you haven't built, and some of you guys might build in places where there is no power, where you need to get like a pole or 2 or even 3. Yeah, that might happen, and you might experience something the same thing that I experienced yesterday. Apparently there are so many people that are having problems with their electricity, especially like someone gets like poles, and then other people don't want to contribute to the expense. Katingabagara kozesa manyi or blackmail. Many people have been actually blackmailed. There are comments where I read that we no longer talk with my neighbor because I asked him for money to connect to my pole. Like me, I used to think that it's common sense. There are services that would ideally be given to us by the government, but the government can't. And when the government can't, what happens is that we as the people, we work on ourselves. But because when Arthur gets a pole or 2, that it doesn't mean that he's rich. And because it doesn't mean that he's rich, you as a person, again Arthur, you have to try and share the expenses with him because government did not give it to him. So you can't expect him to be your government. But apparently there are so many people that believe that for them, they're not supposed to pay for their existence. You're not supposed to pay tax. Whatever, even in heaven, we are going to pay tax for being in heaven. You know the tax of being in heaven when you die. You'll have to sing for God. And of course, there are people that will not be singing, they will be cooking for God, but most of you guys will have to sing. In heaven, you'll all have to live like you did MDD. Sing soprano, hey. You'll be there in heaven singing bass, singing alto. So whether you like it or not, all of you guys are going to have to sing in heaven. And that's the tax for surviving in heaven. Now here on earth, we pay our dues with money. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. You spend money to live a comfortable life. When we were talking about power, one of my neighbors recently, we were connecting. I was talking to him. Everything that we get as a people is a sacrifice. So I was talking to that neighbor of mine, and I was telling him, you know what? You guys should actually contribute to the expense. It's not me that actually wants the money. The story for the guys that don't know, there is a person that pulled 6 poles. 6 poles. He had previously tried to engage these other neighbors so that they contribute, and all of them told him they don't want power. So he mobilized money and said, okay, let me get my 6 poles. Everyone will give me some money. That people that side, because there are going to be so many poles that come from here, will give me 2 million. The people from the other side will give me 2 million, and then I'll cook my money like that. Because we all know that anybody that pulls from this pole is going to give like 200k individually. Now, if those people they are going to give him 200k, and those are like 5 poles, it means from that side he'll probably get like a million or like a 1.5. So if he gets a 2 million and a 2 million, that means he gets his 6 million back if he used 6 million. You get, which is only fair. So when he pulled the 6 poles in the neighborhood, and I asked him, can I connect? And he said, yeah, but you guys need to give me 2 million. And we calculated, and the 2 million was possible. But I gave him like a 500k. Okay, I was fast. I'm fast. I try to be fast. And normally when you're fast, you get a better deal. Ideally, if he knew what he knows now, he would not have allowed me to give him like a 500k. Because as of yesterday, but as of yesterday, he was planning to give me back my 500k so that he gets his 2 million in cash, full amount. And then he did not know me. I was fast. Like I tell people, if you said he move be fast, do things fast. And I gave him like a 500k, and I think I spent in total 4.5 million shillings to get one pole and my yaka meter to get the full connection. So and then these other neighbors that told this guy they don't want power. When I got my pole, then all of a sudden they put poles in their plots, and then they come and put power on my pole by force. Of course, eventually, because me, I did not want money, he wanted money. I told him, you know what, engage with these guys. And I told him, don't allow them, let them disconnect. But he's very modest. I don't know if I'm using the right word. So he allowed them to connect power. I told him tabagenda kuwa sente, and he was saying bichi. I don't know. In the beginning, he seemed like he didn't really care about money. But along the way, I find that those neighbors bamusubiza akasente, and then they did not pay. It's 2 years now, and after they did not pay, they started abusing him, bamusoza, bamugamba weitachiga na masanze ga government, all those things. And I think they bruised his ego. So right now what they are dealing with is a bruised ego. So they either apologize to him and make him feel good, or give him money. And because they are also men, they don't want to bruise their egos, they'll have to pay. So yesterday I did a post on TikTok. So I was telling how I was engaging with one of my neighbors. I was telling him, because that neighbor of mine would like 100%. And I was engaging in Mugamba. As you guys were finishing houses, I was getting power to my house. Which take it like that 4.5 ma could have like tiled a few rooms in Nabakora. But I decided, let me first put power in my house. And because I have not made you pay for that, there is no way you're making me pay for deciding to put power in my house. So now the other guy wants to disconnect me, but he should not be disconnecting me because of you. You guys get like a one, because the guy wants 1 million. Get his 1 million and give it to him. You mobilize yourself. They're like now there are 4 people. If you're 4 people and you need a 1 million, that's about 250. Get that money and give it to him, and they have the money. But apparently for them, bagara blackmail. So yasoka na wajako, and then they went to Umeme, and they all bribing ani na akubesimu ne bakanga guy. Tudamu kujako masanyaraze bichi. So yesterday I did a post on TikTok, and TikTok was TikTok is actually very okay if you have a following. So and I did that video, and I think right now it has about 70k views. 7k, not 70k, 7k views. It has about more than 30 shares, and a number of guys from Umeme, I think some are contractors, other guys working Umeme inside, reached out to me. And one guy called Medi reached out to me, and he said, you know what, Arthur, here, and the number, he gave me 3 numbers. One is like a top manager, then there is a middle one, and then gave me like a network manager. I don't know if the network manager is the head. So I called this guy, the network manager, and I explained to him what happened, and he said, but they can't connect to your pole without getting consent from you, but because they have to contribute. And he says, you know what, let me give you someone. He's going to go disconnect them and even give them notice. So yes, it was around 2 p.m. yesterday. So I talked to this gentleman, actually he calls me and says, you know what, my boss has told me we go and I work on your issue. But it was 2 p.m. Remember, like I walk up to like 4 normally, and then I drive, go pick my people. So I just imagine driving to Matugat 2 p.m. then do those things, or would be. So I told him, let's do it tomorrow morning, which is now. And so eventually at around 3:30, because he did not go, I think his boss calls him and asks, okay, what did you do? He says, but I talked to this gentleman, and then they called me, they conferenced me, told him we're going to do it tomorrow. So I'll give you an update tomorrow of what happens, but I'm glad that I was able to get help. But just imagine someone who can't get help. And by the way, the neighbor that was blackmailed is in the media. Akora Radio, you'll be surprised. But he's a very calm person. Akora Radio, he's actually someone okumanya his someone nze banemesa okuzimba nga sinaba ku getting a plan approved ye yagenda wa mayor najja n'akantu ke kabakakubye ku lupapula bati nga ina enamba ya mayor ne signature kapapula. You know how those guys deep there bakola, and he built his house. Me, I had to get a plan approved. Yeah, but so that's where we were. I had from the beginning I had told my neighbors nze sigenda beera involved in tubya muya musanye sagala sente but musasula omusajja gayi yasika emiti mukaaga mubeeremu ako obuntu mukwate miliyoni esente mukoleki mujimwe ate okumanya some people, you know, what abantu abamu, there are people that come from deep there in the villages that are not civilized. They go to school, they get an education, but they don't get really educated. Like in my estate, there are so many people that have entered their houses without being complete. The law says you're supposed to enter their house after it's completed for safety, right? But we enter houses that are not complete. So I was talking to that neighbor of mine that went to Bombo to blackmail the other neighbor. I told him, you guy, you're talking about the law. You go to blackmail someone with the law. The law says you should enter a house which is complete. Your house is only like 50% complete. Why are you in there? And he says, Arthur, don't bring the law of houses here. We are talking about power. And I say, we are talking about power, but did the law bring those poles there? You get it? So, like, was it Tuesday? I did not really sleep very well. I slept at around 3 a.m. I intended to do work, but I was engaging with these guys, trying to get them to understand. So I'm glad that finally I have a solution. Yes, the pole is not in my plot, but I invested money to get it there. I actually black market. Because when I went to that estate, people did not have because the black market had disturbed them a lot. People kept taking money from them and not giving them poles and all that. So me, I just decided I'm going to get someone and I'll pay everything via Umeme. Of course, I paid the dealers. Like I gave this guy like a 500k okunyambako kutambuza paperwork. And then the thing with Umeme is, I think for them, as long as they make their money, they don't care. It's a lot of what about Umeme as an organization. They went through these guys, but Umeme as an organization has not reached out. But I'm glad that at least in that organization we have people that care. Which take it up. So anyway, today is Wednesday. I just wanted us to talk about negotiation. I have an OB of mine that stops talking to me because I negotiate. In Uganda we call it bargaining. It's not really bargaining, it's negotiating. And I've recently found that people that negotiate very well are victimized. They are made to look bad. Which take it up. But negotiation is a part of life, right? So why is it that in Uganda we make the top negotiators look bad? Ngenda kusoma ku comment zamwe guys. Julian Bright, Kavuma Farouk, Musema Saddam, Mwasuze Mutia. You guys, I hope you're doing well. If you're not well, tell us and we pray for you. Yeah? Tell us and we pray for you. A problem shared is a problem that is 20% solved. Because at least someone knows about your problem. So now you're not on your own. Which take it. At least then you're not on your own. Julian Bridget, Bukenya Abi, Sebugwao Medi, Ntale Samuel, Frank Waswa. Arthur, also I have my neighbors in Matuga. Electricity. You know what you do, Frank Waswa, I understand what you're going through. If you want power, you can actually get those 6 poles. You buy poles on the black market. On the black market, you may end up using 500,000 per pole. 500,000 per pole. Or you get someone like a contractor. The contractor will do something. They get poles for you. Then no wire. Yeah. Then you pay for the yakamita in Umeme, and then you'll have power. You get it? The contractors know what to do. Even this neighbor of mine that got 6 poles, his the brother had a contracting company, but he was also like a top guy in Umeme. The reason why they are even having the troubles they are having is because the brother went abroad, so he literally is not on the ground, so he cannot help. And that's how they were able to get those 6 poles. But regardless, I don't care how they got their poles. Without them, we would not have power. That's why for me, I paid that money like 2 months before I got power. Because I know exposed. I know that a chintu government you contribute some money. And you know there's a funny thing, those guys when they were putting their 6 poles, there is a neighbor's plot where they put a pole, and that neighbor came and was very furious, called them. They had to hire a truck, the Umeme truck, 200k, to remove the pole from his plot and put it in another person's plot. Then, when this guy came and finally built and entered his house, then he connected on the other pole without talking to these guys. You get, there are people batally civilized, people that are not exposed. And I think life humbles you. There is a statement humbling. Our houses will not be where they are 100 years from now. They'll probably be broken. Katika ploti oina ploti 10 ku 10 omuyaya atadde omuti mu ploti kututayade futi mujango ogujjewo. Yes, Paul Sema, Council Patrick Asiku, Nathan Vinicats, Chris Fitness, good morning. Dogmeister business guy was also in the same issue, guys. I don't know why some neighbors want. No, some of those neighbors are just not exposed. You know, exposure is a very good thing. Exposure is a very good thing. I find that if government gave us these things, that the government brings the poles and puts it where near you, you could be able to go and tell your neighbor, Tonyega, Kantikeko. But the government, Amasanyaza Katifenge Wafi, Yagakomia, like 10-20 poles away. There was a neighbor that pulled 5 poles, another neighbor pulled 5 poles, and then our neighbor pulled 6 poles. And then Arthur pulled 1 pole. Katibano ne bakwataka kasta pole ya Arthur tafayo tabiriko. Then they started blackmailing. Balvidzai, Ben Kako, Lucky Mose, neighbors that got little or no education, even common sense neither. These things are everywhere. Me, I find that it's mostly lack of exposure. It's not really education. One of our neighbors used to work in the Prime Minister's office. I think he's retired. Yeri akola Prime Minister's office. Ato yasinga kati sibategerera ko dalanze bannange. Me, I find that some of these things and then I find that some guys during when they are the ones that benefit, then the law should work and all that. When they are not benefiting, the law should not work. Like one of my neighbors rides a motorcycle. He doesn't have a driver's license. He doesn't have third party. You get it? Then why isn't he applying the law to himself to get a driver's license and a third party on his motorcycle? You get it? I asked him all those things. But munange, abera common sense and lack of exposure. Good morning, Kambesi, Solomon, no such historical Norman. After you said you'll drive the hybrid. Hybrid, yacha ganye, no nyanda, ori aganye. Ayagara kutunda butunzi tagara kupangisa. I don't know why he changed his mind, but I'm looking for another hybrid. It has, and the reason why I'm actually curious to get the hybrid from a person that is selling is because the way we call her, bikole nange nganzira mu hybrid. Nange ntunda yange ngavuga hybrid. Ukitegedde. So byenjagala okukola ebyo webitu. Good morning, Isaac Luyirika. A good negotiation has to give both parties a little pain. That's the beauty of it. Thank you, Chris. But why is it that it's the guys that win that have always said, oh, yo mubi yatunyigiriza, sikunyigiriza. I think Abadugav we lack enough IQ. That's why we are not developing year after year. Man, bwogamba bwotyo chandibe kituufu. There are things that are like when the neighbor disconnected their power, I found that it was easier for them to call a meeting of neighbors. A meeting of neighbors where we would have figured out and probably work out a payment plan so that the entire neighborhood helps them push whoever is not paying. You get? But this dude rode his motorcycle and went to Umeme to blackmail. Wasn't the intelligent thing to do. Good morning, Hannington. Guys, why are good negotiators victimized? Lwaki mwagala okubafuula ababi ba negotiator abalungi? Lwaki if someone negotiates very well, lwaki tokkiriza bukkiriza that the guy has negotiated properly? This is the thing that happens with when the reason why normally I tell you not sell the reason why I tell you guys not to sell your car in a hurry is because you put yourself in a position where you don't have negotiation power. Obera in a fix for negotiation. Yeah, omuntu nakunyiga nenga bwakunyiga toyina kyakolo ina kukiza because you do toyina way out. It's the same thing I tell you when you're going to buy a car. The brokers have no problem. The brokers do what they do best. The reason why brokers exist is to broker a deal, to negotiate on behalf of whoever they are representing. And sometimes brokers will not be loyal. They will represent both of you. You'll go the other side, negotiate for himself, come your side, negotiate for himself. And then at the end of the day, the broker is supposed to make all of you feel like you're winning. That's what brokers do. You get it? And so I find that brokers are the best negotiators. And I find that, including me, we have kind of victimized them. We have made them look bad when all they are trying to do is do their jobs, broker a deal. You get? So brokers negotiate very well. And that's what they do. When for example, you're selling your car and these guys stole you, because I've seen this happen before. They stole you, that's why the last time when I was telling you the things you should focus on if you want to start car flipping, make sure you have a good network of brokers and mechanics, because if you don't, you're never going to sell at a good price, or you might not even sell at all, because you need to have brokers that can negotiate leaning mostly on your side. If you don't have brokers that negotiate leaning mostly on your side, then you're going to be on the losing end all the time. And you don't want that. So brokers are the biggest negotiators when you are buying cars. That's one thing you need to understand. And yes, majority of the times the brokers don't actually make any good money. That's why I think in a way it doesn't make me happy for a person to work for 200,000, 300,000 and they do it. They do it. They are not looking for so much money. That's why sometimes the people that have bought cars with me, I've negotiated with the broker and we told him, you know what, we are going to give you money. Tugenda kuwaye emitwalo abiri tugole ku beeyi yaffe. Ogenda mutuufu okulaba ng'oli abadde anemeza because alina okuwa broker sente. Okitegeera. Oba olumu we negotiate with even the seller and we say, you know what, if the broker wants 500k, let's give him the 250, you give him the 250, tutwale mmotoka mu sente ennungi. Okitegeera okusinga, because normally when a seller is selling and the broker wants 500,000, the seller will increase by 1 million. So that agamba kati broker atwale emitwalo 5 nange kane yongeremu 5, and just like that the car becomes more expensive. So if a broker got a 500k, okitegeera, all that is negotiation. It's just good for you to know that this is how things are working. Then there are times a broker will make sure you don't buy that car simply because he's not making any money off of it. Which is why it's you've seen me, the guys that have bought cars with me, you've seen me come to you and I say, you know what, let's give brokers some car money and we buy this car. Because I've dealt with these things so many times, I can see the look on a seller on a seller's face when he wants to sell but is scared of the brokers. Brokers are dangerous, by the way, if you didn't know. If you bought a car and you didn't pay brokers when you are supposed to pay them, they could even come for the car and just destroy it. You get the guys that sometimes you've seen stories of guys, brokers are capable of that. Gwoganya okubawa emitwalo 5 ne bajja ne bagimenya ne batwala radio ne batwala ebipeesa ne bajjako amataala, you end up losing 3 million. Okitegeera notandika okulowooza nti babbi nga mu kitundu temuli nnyo babbi nga ababbi baanonye bibyo just to make you pay. You get it? So but a negotiation is an attempt of both the two parties that are negotiating. Everyone is supposed to make sure that you win. And during negotiation, we are supposed to be... Negotiations are not emotional. If you can take advantage of the emotions of the other person, no problem. But for you, you're not supposed to negotiate with emotions. You're supposed to negotiate with facts. Which again, you look at the numbers and you say, and that's it. That's why I don't negotiate my pre-purchase inspection fees. Because I find that once you start accepting the lesser value, so my inspection fee is 450,000. So there is no negotiation for me, because the moment you decide to allow another person to negotiate your fee, then you don't have power over it. So if you don't want to be negotiated and make the negotiator look like they are bad, don't give them space to negotiate. Gamba, fixed price, yeah, which is what supermarkets do. And I find that every time someone prices something and they are giving themselves space to negotiate, I find that they are overpricing their products. They were in the wars. If you're not overpricing, then why are you negotiating? Why don't you just make a small profit, have a fixed price, and then advertise or market? Just tell people I'm selling shirts at 20k. If you can't afford it at 20k, don't buy. Because they overprice things. They are not fair. Other than that, if you think IFRIS is the actual problem, then find a way of leaving room for negotiation. Leave room for negotiation. Actually, I think one of the biggest problems here is that you will have to give the buyer an IFRIS invoice. You have to give the buyer an IFRIS invoice, especially if it's a company. But the thing with IFRIS, because baden ndi mukusoma IFRIS wakola, wogena mu IFRIS system, buli product ogisaayo n'obagamba eno product ngenda bagitunda sente bweziti. But there is always room for like editing, but that needs ngomanyi system nga bwekola. So my accountant has been teaching me, because we cannot have an accountant on payroll. We are a small organization. So I got the accountant to start teaching me these things, fighting a VAT, ebintu ebyo. And I find that every time there is room for negotiation, if someone tells you to tesa, mutese nyo. Don't kati. I find that for nadara wano katinze ni musajja Muganda. So I know that this is something that happens with all Baganda, literally all of them. Baganda are very polite. They don't want to annoy people. That's why people, I think, call them abenkwe, because a Muganda will not want to annoy you. He will not want to annoy anyone. So he keeps playing both sides because he doesn't want to annoy you. This is just something about how we were raised. We were raised not to annoy anyone. You get it? And I find that it's a very bad. It's not proper. You have to be able to annoy people in business. You get it? You have to be able, like, you okay, people, I've seen people, like, there is a time we went to a bond to inspect a car. These guys, their cars are overpriced and they are not nice. And then this guy was saying, like, oh, you know, that's Uganda for you. He is a good person. And I was telling this guy, the Indian is smiling with you because it's his job to smile. It's also a negotiation technique. And you find that it's business, but people have been loyal to guys that are not loyal to them for a very long time. And it takes time for you to learn it. It really takes time for you to understand that, you know what? It's, for me, I'm just a figure to them. I am, yes, they are people, so they have empathy maybe, but to them, if I go and buy from them, I am a statistic. I'm just one of the people that have come to buy. There is nothing really special about me apart from the money that I'm bringing them. And people take that, and they negotiate against themselves. That because we don't want to annoy people. It's not just a Bagada thing. I think it's most Ugandan tribes. And because these guys don't want to negotiate when they go to a bond, they don't want to negotiate properly. They have ended up starting to ship cars. There are places where you can go and get cars at shipping price. But then the other thing that you guys don't know is that the traders that sell cars at shipping price, the traders that will sell you cars at shipping price, bakanikamu okitegeera batereezaamu mu mmoloka ezo tebazigula nga ziri perfect, and the guys that sell at premium prices, especially when they don't have a good class of their vehicle, emmoloka zaabwe baba bazikutte bagenda ne bazigula at shipping prices, ne bazireeta ne bakwatamu ne batereezaamu, and most of you guys don't want that okitegeera. So which is why you end up buying a car that is at that is priced highly. Nzijjamu ebintu wano mbiteeke mu office ngende ndabe guy waawo memory tumale okudisconnectinga ku bantu. Kale guys, negotiation, the biggest weakness that I found if nga bannayuganda gye tulina tetwagala kunyiiza bantu. You want everyone to like you. Most times, by the way, not most Ugandans, you want to be on good terms with everyone because we were raised to be polite. That's how we were raised. Most Ugandans, we were raised to be polite, to the extent that even the neighbor can beat you. And say, my neighbors don't beat my children. If my children do anything, you tell me. Which take it, and I find that that's the way it should be. A neighbor should not be able to cane your child. Why? And also, you should be able to discipline your kids, so that they don't put themselves in a position where the neighbor wants to beat them. Okitegeera kandabe bani gwe sibuuzizzaako bannange. And Heath Moses, good morning. Kagama Enoch, good morning. Arthur, the issue of power is tricky. These guys who extend the lines, instead of doing cost recovery, they opt to profiteer from the affair. Enoch, I don't think they profiteer. There's something with the trouble that comes with actually getting a poll. Me, to get power to my house, I spent 4.5. The Yakamita of that is only 700,000. Do you know what all the other money went to do? 4.5 is the only money idea that you should pay to the government. 700 only for the Yakamita. So 4.5 minus 700, that means I spent 3.8 on getting the pole to the ground. 3.8 in one pole. Do you know where most of that money went? Most of that money went to the person that started the process for me. It went to the truck that put the pole where it is. Nabo emitwala kuba bali be chance nga bagala genda. They are technical, they would put in things in paperwork, bichi. You have to give them the car. So I gave them 300,000. Then I gave my neighbor who gave me power 500,000. Izo meka. Atano, asatu. That's 1.3. Then I gave Umeme over 2.3. That I paid on the Umeme account. Which again, I think it was around 1.8. Then there was more money that was asked of me to help move the paperwork. So you can imagine I used 3.8. I did not ask for that money because I was looking at my neighbors. But then oli eyasika emiti omukaaga bwaba ayagala million sente bajimuwe. Because without his 6 poles we would not. You see Enoch, eh? There you are looking at profiteering from your angle, but you're not looking at them who pulled the poles when you did not pull them. Why didn't you pull them if you think it's easy? If you think like, okay, even if they were to make profit, if you think for them to make profit it's a very bad thing, why didn't you pull the poles? Chitegeza, it's hard. Hi Valerian. Umeme doesn't require a letter of consent from the guy to connect to the poles. Paying the guy is done on humanitarian grounds. Enoch, you don't know. They actually do. Unless it's stated as a requirement for electricity connections, guys like him have no protection whatsoever. It actually does, Enoch. It does. The last person that brought the pole where you're getting power, that person needs to sign for you. That's a fact. People just don't do it. Never be a because some neighbors are bad. Some neighbors are into now. That's why people don't go ahead to do those things. But now when we get to a point where someone is pushed to the wall, like me now, I'm pushed to the wall. This guy wants to disconnect my power because those guys don't want to pay. So I have to find a way of disconnecting those guys so that they pay, and I don't get, because me, I spent money. Saith, good morning. Toddy Ronald, good morning. Football Tribe, good morning. Arthur, here in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, cars parking yards are roofed with solar panels to generate electricity as they cover cars. But such an idea will only work in Uganda if if they deploy armed guards against the thieves. The solar wano na iwa chupuli, one of my neighbors yagano kusikama sanyazi nga agamba agenda kusika solar. Ina naleta solar. Solar na afuka solar. He's one of the guys that connected without consent. Because me I was telling him kati obuzayo musasule uli omusajja osike yo muti nanza msanze ngenda soka ngeso nywe kansoke ndete sola te yafuka sola sola yafuka sola we kampala bichupuli. So eventually then he wanted the power nenga ate tayagala kutebagala kusasula, you get it? So me I find that tugenda tuka point tujja tuka point ngomuntu yasawo mutigwe agujjewo bujja agambe kali mu abagala okufuna agobwerere musiko omuti mu guteeke onzimba wa 5. Because for me I find that it's easy. If I get my pole nengujja wao nimbaga kati mwe musiko omuti mu guteeke onzimba we million, you get? Because if it was that easy, me I would not have spent the what? I would not have spent the 1.8 or something that I paid to Umeme. I would have waited for them to pull the pole. Begubanga gwali mwangu. And then for me, I give them the 1 million. You know how much money I would have saved? I would have saved 800,000 there. But I did not save that money because these guys were not willing to pull power. So when I finally pull power, why are they saying that I'm profiteering? It's not about profiteering. It's about also convenience. Now it's much more convenient for you because someone inconvenienced themselves. Anyway, guys, I kambasibuli maroko asaganya kino kubanja gana chimala mangu atenkola ebintu ebiri mu afternoon. But guys, why do you make negotiators feel bad? Because they are good at negotiating. Nabagambe nyina obi wange yali atunda computers. He was a money lender. I don't know if he still is. And he was a money lender. Kati nga ola abantu sente ne bamusingira computer. Kati nga computers nze mukatale mba manyi price yazo. Ngambuzo inayo ka laptop awo nkaina kali china chinga ngamba specification nkuwa bweziti kankaleto kalabe nkuwa bweziti mpa bweziti nkuwa bweziti mpa bweziti nkuwa bweziti okitegeera. And then of course I would end up winning nenga gamba onyiga nnyo. But you see, the issue with negotiation is majority of the time when you have the, and if you have one person who is giving you the best offer better than anyone else, you're always going to end up on the losing side because oyomuntu ekaya aliwasobola okuwa sente ezo at that time. And I think that's where he used to lose. Of course, along the way, then they started the license, bichinga ati license ya managing. I think ayinzo ba we yakoma. But I hope you guys get what I'm saying. Negotiation doesn't make the other person your enemy. It doesn't make them bad-mannered, especially when they win. I found that Ugandans to be a little bit emotional. obo yagala oli negotiating nga ye negotiating against like I'm negotiating against myself. That would make me a good person. You get I gave you an example of a lady who is in Entebbe who wanted a tracker installed for her, and then what she wanted was for me to take a tracker to her for free at the same price that I install trackers for people that bring their cars to my office. And I told her that's not possible. Actually I was talking to her nemujjako nemugamba sooka olowooze kyoketudemu twogere bw'ona olabanga you can work with what I'm telling you to do, then you call me. Bandi awo ngerazzemu ankubidde kale kati leeta okitegeere, because I find that Ugandans don't expect you to negotiate for you. They expect you to negotiate for them. And that's not how it works. It takes time for you to understand it. Kati Omara, like me, was done some business with the corporate world. The guys in the corporate world, they hard skin. Batukanga tebacha ebya kugamba gundi ananyiga tebacha abiriko. I remember there is a friend of mine, akora Kwen TV now. He's a big guy Kwen TV. So at that time around 2012, naina akava makerering ankola TV show pilots. So I submitted one TV show pilot. At that time there was a chick called Pamela yali in production. Never see my show yangi yagisima I think with her guys. But nangamba dayote is okomeo pilot. Unfortunately ngendo kudayo kola pilot yeyo ne bamugoba omukazi. Kati we bamugoba I had to go over the process again. And that was very hectic. Ne bagigoba show yange. Ngate mazo okuddamu manyingo omuntu bwana akugamba we will buy your product, we go fix these things and bring back specifically this for us to approve. And then omuntu yakugambe ne bamugoba. So I go back and then my show is not bought. And then along the way I find this friend of mine ne mugamba ne hey waka wange ti wamulaba. Nti namulaba bichi. Nimuga nangamba namulaba waka bichi. Nemubuza naye what's the problem? Nangamba anti kati obuzibu Arthur the camera bichi. Nemugamba this was a pilot. I hope you guys nangamba Arthur nobody cares. Boyangamba nobody cares. At that moment, because I was young, I was 22 in 2012 and my mind wasn't yet mature. So when he said nobody cares, in my mind I was like, oh, this guy is supposed to be my friend, he's supposed to understand me, he's supposed to tell me Atakorabot at that moment. But now I don't think like that anymore, because I've dealt with corporates that would tell you, most corporates by the way, go to corporate companies, you realize that people tell it the way it is. Ajakugamba, you're not nice when you're not nice, your work is bad when it's bad, which again, eh? And I find that sometimes negotiation has to be cutthroat. Ngula nkutunde emitwalo ebiri nkugula mutwalo natambula nava nawo kati gwe ne weerowooza nojja kale empagu mu kitundu nkugula mutwalo. I find that for negotiations to go in your favor, you have to know what you're negotiating for. You have to know the actual price. You have to know what's the fair price for you and then negotiate for that. If it's not fair for you, walk away. Tosigala okugamba mbu ate nagize naye wanyize okitegeera. Teri kunyiga. I negotiate, you accept. If you one of us will have power over the other eventually. It will not be like I negotiated with my plumber some time back. We negotiated nangamba and said no, nemugamba to you guys, you're supposed to charge 15%. Yeah? 15% the service fee, 15% of the cost of the material. Nangamba noze Arthur charging 40, nemugamba nze bisijja bikolerako. We negotiated. Naina we Arthur what the way kaza sente nto nemuga sinto no. Ntunula nedi. Kale nyongera mu 5. Nenzimu wabwe nagende wa mama banangane nawe. Omusajja no munyize. Nemuga simunyize. I was negotiating. But you know, it's a very funny thing. Mama bani agamba omusajja omunyize. But it happened that as the guy was going, so I negotiated for me, he negotiated for him. I think I won a little bit. I don't know if he will come back to work, but he will come back. But I find that bo negotiating ano wangu go wangu darabanga gwa ine mpise, which is not the proper thing to do. okitegeera nsobola okuwangula naye ate nensigala ngaera nyina empisa nnungi nga I negotiated okitegeera muyombya Mark Mugalashi Joshua Mixed Farm tusime Eddie Nick Wabuyi Travel Life Vlog Kavuma Farouk Saddam Musema muyombya Mark Julian Bryett Bridget Bryett Bukenya Abe Sebugwa Made in Tare Samuel Frank Waswa Paul Sema Kanso Patrick Asiku Nathan Vinny Katz Luburo Chris Fitness Dogmeister Balvids Ben Kako Tekasago Lucky Mose Cam Base Jesse Chitoleko Norman Vinny Katz Luburo Chris Fitness Isaac Luirika Heath Moses Chamba de Hannington Valerian Seru Nkuma Kawagama Enoch Seith Kagaba Toddy Ronald Football Tribe don't even repeat that story ekaziri entebe don't even ate nasango nyiga nnyo bannange nze sikyanyiga kati of course nyiga nyiga wa ne mala nembita I think I right now I'm trying to understand why people do what they do and everyone I know nsonga lwaki akola kyaba akola osegeda and I've realized sometimes omuntu asobola okola kyakola ng'agezaako okusikaza wuwe kati nze neba neighbor bange abagezaako okublackmailing oli baleme wakakadde nkiraba bandi bange obwavu bubalumamu bubanyigamu kati ate awulira okwata emitwalo 3 agawooli awulira nga abaafiiriddwa ennyo so nabo bagezaako okusika ewuwe negotiations are good in business if only it's not going to affect quality. You're very right. Normally when people try to like negotiate my pre-purchase inspection fee, I tell them I'm not going to reduce that money because you don't want to get you don't want to get bad service from me. So if you want to get good service from me, you pay. If you want something that is cheaper, find someone to do it. And we all know you can even get just a mechanic to inspect for you. Which take no more mitwali etano. There's someone that came they came to me for pre-purchase inspection and then they were telling me what guy oli omulala acharginga 15 nenda badende au nga sinamu 15 jange ningama ne mitwaro 15 gino ntambule naye aleme kubeera compromised you get eventually you realize that 150,000 for someone that claims is going to be professional and all that's quite little money and then this person is telling you the service jenko to ina wala ugenda jijja okitegeera at 150,000 but anyway that's a story for another day. Some people will accept peanuts and work with that, hence delivering shoddy works, but that's not proper. Like this gentleman engineer Gwemba Gamba Rallen Contractors, this dude redid my 3D impression of my house because the 3D that I had in the beginning yaite chakola baina bibasomo obe mu plan. So I told him you come. He took pictures of my house. He went back, redid 3D. Nanzjako emitwala 5. Now for the guys that have done plans, you know that an entire plan 3D impression. Because I thought that his service was worth that money. His service was worth that money. If I didn't think his service was worth the money, I would try to negotiate. But I've seen some 3D drawings by people, and I've seen his 3D drawings, and I realized that if he gives me the 3D drawings that I've seen, it will be a very good thing. And then also I expect to work with him, but I don't expect him to be cheap for me. I expect him to come and supervise the finishing works, because the nyumba yange ya box, nyumba za box is nyumba finishing. So I want the precision to be there. He's the only person that can actually give me the precision that I want because he designed this thing. Guys, Kamba Siwole, Tarema Samuels, Johnson Dubinga. Zeno mbade manyi Abduna Saya Anyinze. Valerian, Ekazi ya Entebe. Lijoga. Guys, I wish you a very lovely day. In negotiations, guys, the reason why I normally tell you guys to first of all, don't sell your car very fast. Don't look at only one car when you're going to buy, is because the negotiation is not going to be in your favor. Omuntu wakwita nakugamba jangu wano waliwo emmotoka joba ogula nga akulaga nti ye mmotoka yokka yokka eriwo. That's why I tell people we look at options. Look at least 4 options of the car you want to buy, and then you make a decision. Never again, no simple and over, and you go to one car with papa, and that's the car you want to buy. You're not only limiting information, you're limiting your access to information, but you're not giving yourself options, which is not a very good thing. We should always have options. Omuntu alina options, asobola okunegotiating. Newe kubeera mu sente, bana guys, make sure you keep money on you. Kyanga kiwagamba kuvadda. Gamba, if you have 40 million, buy a car of 20, keep 20 million on you, because if you do that, you're not going to get to a point where you're selling your car for peanuts. There is a time guy yali atunda akamotoka, you know the Vitz, the RS nga 15 TRD sport version nga agitunda million zaliaga zali 22 oba 23 zali 22 nengo manchi jimutunza aine ebintu byalina okukiriyarenga URA nenga talina sente nenga motoka jatunda million 2 ajigule million 35 nenga ne jatunda 22 teryazimu abantu bagala mu million 18 19 abaina cash. Kat I find that person yeteka in a fix where the negotiation is never going to be in his favor. Which take of course eventually chileke muruko baye mulemo okutunda, because everyone was giving him 18-19 ne bamuzunza jangu eno nkwe sente natuka mbo ataka sente ziganye ya 17 ne bamuzunza jangu eno nagenda, and it kept happening over and over and over again, because yagenda ne yemarako sente natuka nga yetaga sente zikola ebirala nga ateta zina. So try as much as possible. Ganti bagamba cash flow is king, you remember that, and cash flow is king everywhere. Kakubere waka, kakubere office and all that. Arthur, please, some explanations on field 1.5, 1.6. There is no 1.6, it's a 1.5 liter. If it's 1.499 something. Yeah, so it's good. It's not powerful, but it's good. It's an engine. Of course, it's if I'm using a 1.8, but they are good engines. Darkness is impossible. Get solar of 600k. Lucky Mose, I'm sure my neighbor yagula solar ina solar million inga billion over satu. Solar disappoints in Uganda. Solar disappoints. Solar disappoints. I'm just going to I'm going to create a power backup system. Get a number of batteries. Umeme ya charging with an inverter, of course. Umeme charging nga umeme bwa agenda. I have like power backup for like 10 to 12 hours. Because I'm saying umeme tekatira. Then I want to gata ko ne solar panel. Osekida ngasanzi bogaga genze for like a week, solar panel kabera ko ne manga at least mwina amasanyaza agakola ku matala. Okitegeera. How about if I'm buying the car for business? Do I have to wait until I have 50% more than the cost? No. I don't think you do. I don't think the rule applies to everyone, Jane Jogerakoi. But the rule applies mostly for the guys that because say it's one thing you need to understand is that even a business car, you can buy it in EFA. People buy cars from the bond, I'll tell you. I've seen instances where a person has bought a lorry from the bond. Na atuka gearbox ne kuba. Nga gearbox kubi yetage million mukaga. Ochisegeera. So even business cars, it's not like it's a must, but it would be ideal. That's why abantu abambagule morokeza amabanja. Abantu ambagula imorokeza amabanja nti abera nga ine million 9 ngemoroka million 8 nagenda nabasasula kameka 5 mwabasasula ka 5 zinana zasigaza za kulabirira mmotoka agitekeka emipira emipya agikole byonna bina biyeta gokola license and all. Osegera then nemoroka nebwefa abayina ezigikanika wadde bayita naba marayo kuba bali bamuwe emyezi ena ku 10, so you can still pay. So say I still believe, especially if you're buying from the bond, bond, just go and negotiate, then pay part of the money. Obisigalengo inamu cash flow. Cash flow is king, guys. Cash flow is king. There is a dude, bamuitani, nila videri nyadi abede yiwa, obama sindi. Dude tuagula na yiwa no fielder. Nga ina sente zigula fielder yo cash. Nagamba Arthur, nze nyino sigaza sente mumusawo. Naba wake milioni aga. Nibambaje milioni 15. Okitegeera idagamba nze njizina ne kakati naye sijjaziba wakatika nsigaze nga nzaza. I find that that's a very good thing. It doesn't apply for the guys that want to do drive to own. Jekaga, that was bad solar. My uncle installed solar in Mayuge and it works like umeme. Are you sure? Bamugura wa oyo solo yo is a product bazigura wa nzijenze njagala. But I also put like a backup nga yakana ya charging a batteries ezo, because I find that nze kati batabali bakati bacha sobola darkness ansanze kagenda ne baita mami power car's gone. They are used to that. Of course, now they are used themselves. It handy. Bami sharing irako JK. Sharing irako, that would be very nice. Then sharing irako, njakugezesa abantu babo. Then I'll come here and give my testimony. Yeah, I'll give my testimony because kati wetuli ya Uganda kati wetuli kati nze ndi mu kusomesa weno ekiro oludde waka ngantula ku laptop ngantandika okukola assignments neta agamba sannyalaze okise because other than that bova ku mulimu kusawa 10 nosalawo nti kati kangende mpumule progress ogenda gisanga ogenda kumayizanga ebintu byino okukola molo na kutosobodde bikola osegeere because ogenzi tulina basanyalaze. Yeah. Jeka, you share with me lithium game malunje. You share contacts. Nze ntandika okuzimba backup ye wange. Sanzi tigaina kuvaako. Yeah, bana guys. Kamba sibuli. Omukama bawo omukisa. Also kanu kankaisewo. Most SUVs are not comfortable. On Saturday, I'm going to be talking about what makes a car a sports car. And then I think on either tomorrow or Sunday, let me think about it. I'm going to be talking about the safety features that are useless for us as Ugandans. Yes, there are some safety features that are useless. May God bless you. Ciao.